Hey everybody, welcome back to Inside the Forest. Dave Cottingham here with Hannah Burr.
Hello.
Good evening, Hannah. How are you?
I'm doing well, and how are you? And are you well rested from your trip?
Oh yeah. I'm back. I'm okay. I feel like this week has been long,
Yes.
but the weekend is here now, so it's I'm okay, and it's always tougher. I feel like it was because I went to Mountain Time, and it was a little tougher going there. I realize it's tougher going west at night because you land and it's not that late, but it is late because you left, when it was late here. It's like I got there like 10, which is already midnight, so you don't really think it's midnight, but then your body's like, man, shoot, I got to get up in like 5 hours to go to work. And it's like, so anyway, it was a good trip. I figured we maybe knock a show out when I got back, but man, I was drained. I was pretty drained.
I was still suffering from us losing an hour of sleep, so
Oh, right.
I still am.
Yeah. But well, when I got back, it was like we had my girls had state championships with archery and all that stuff. It was like a lot going on. So, but we're back and we're here to talk Star Wars again. And first and foremost, again, thanks to our patrons as always for the support and contributing, and which we're going to talk about some comments from them right now. But always appreciate you guys. So again, Star Wars, not too much to talk about yet. There's still about a month away till Star Wars Celebration.
I highly doubt they're going to drop anything before that.
Nah. There's little things we'll talk about today, but the big thing is Andor obviously coming right around that time too. So definitely a build up to that. They have been releasing. I haven't watched them yet, but Tony Gilroy, the writer, he's doing like a rewatch series of the season 1 right now.
Oh.
So you can, I think, again, I haven't seen it yet, but you can go on Star Wars YouTube channel and there's a video of him talking about like the first three episodes. Like they're doing them like by story arcs, which is
Have
pretty
they
cool.
done that before?
No, they have not.
That's really smart.
They've done articles on rewatching, like they did a whole rewatch thing of the Clone Wars, but it was no video. It was all like articles.
That's really smart marketing, actually, to set up for Andor 2.
I agree. I totally agree. I will check them out before it comes out, but
Indeed.
But I've done my own start of rewatching. I rewatched the first 3 episodes, I think right before I left for my trip. And I got to say, I was like, man, this is still a great series. I mean, I was in it.
Maybe I need to force my husband to sit down and rewatch it with me. He hasn't seen it, actually.
Oh, I think he would like it.
I think you would too.
It's a good show, man. I mean, it is so well written. Diego Luna is just a great actor. I mean, it's just, man, I forget. I mean, that first scene where he's and he gets stopped by those officers, and that whole thing is like, I mean, this is the second time rewatching this series again, but like that scene alone was like, man, I'm in this, man.
Woof.
It's really good. Let's see. So going back a couple weeks to our last episode, we've got, of course, our buddy Thrawn on here says, I think Lucasfilm just needs to make Hannah happy and announce a Knights of the Old Republic movie and a Knights of Ren series. One day, Hannah, we can only hope. I absolutely loved Reign of the Empire so much. I managed to get through it in just a few days. Love that it takes place very soon after episode 3, and they are still dealing with damage to Coruscant from when the Separatists kidnapped Palpatine. Enjoy the politics and interesting seeing how the Empire has taken form. Also, I enjoy the complicated relationship Mon and Bail have throughout. You mentioned that. Won't go into details as unsure how far along you are, but Would love to see a spoiler review from you both. Glad you enjoyed your Iceland trip, Hannah, and good to see you back. May the force be with you.
Thank you. And yes, if only dreams could become reality, that would be amazing.
Right. Yeah. I do got a little bit of news about that, actually. I'll hear it in a second. Kamor Jade says, I'm wondering if the 3-episode release schedule is to address complaints about the first season being a bit slow week to week.
Oh.
The first season was written in that 3-episode arc style, which makes it drag the worst on the Aldani arc. I'll be willing to bet that that's where the viewership dropped the most. I could see them wanting to release it differently to help keep the viewership boosted.
That's actually a really good thought.
Yeah, that's not a bad thought. That's not a bad thought.
Because even though I enjoyed it, I did think it was more slice of life-ish in the fact that it had that slower pace. So that does make but also I'm somebody who doesn't mind slice of life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what's interesting is that they have told us that it is 3 episodes. Like the first arc is 3 episodes. So it is slightly confusing that if you knew you were going to put them out like this, why not make it like a movie versus 3 episodes?
I think it's because there's a psychology behind it where if you get 3 episodes, you think you're getting more. And you are mentally breaking it into if we're really going to look at the basics of it, it's not going to come out like this. It's not your first act, second act, third act, because the first act is like 15, like if you had a 100-page script, the first 15 pages are your first act. The next 70 pages are your second act, and your last 15 pages are your third act. That's typically how a 100-page script breaks out. So it's not going to be first act, second act, third act, but a lot of people will feel like, A, I'm getting more, B, I'm getting a 3-act structure here. So I think just psychology-wise, and also it's like, oh, I'm watching a TV show. This isn't going to be long. Meanwhile, if you get a movie, you're like, I have to sit for an hour and a half, or I have to sit for 2 hours to watch a movie. Versus, oh, I can watch 3 episodes, no problem. I binge watch a show in a night, no problem. To the point that Netflix says, hey, are you still watching? Yeah, stop asking me if I'm still watching.
Yeah. Even if 3 episodes equal 2 hours.
Even if 3 episodes equal 2 hours, I feel like your average person is going to see 3 episodes as shorter than a movie.
Interesting.
So I think that's just a strategy going into that.
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it came down to because they had to cover 4 years in one season, that contributed to, kind of how they're going to release this thing.
And you also already released Andor season 1 as a season. If you're going to then say, hey, we're going to do a trilogy afterwards, a trilogy of movies, people are going to question that, and that's going to confuse people. So it's simpler to keep it as a TV show. I understand your logic, and I agree with your logic, but I don't think a lot of the general public would agree with it.
Yeah, because I think that's basically what it's going to – I think it's basically going to look like that. I think it's going to be one movie, just split up into 3 episodes.
I agree with you.
Because they're not time jumping, during that. It's all kind of going to happen in that, few days or whatever. It's like one event, whatever that is, Okay, and then let's see. Thrawn ended up commenting on a couple extra episodes we did. One from Council Sessions that me and Martin did, and it was about what's the most significant moment in the live action series.
Okay.
Did I ask you? I meant to get your feedback on that. Like, what was in your mind? What's been the most significant moment you think in the live action shows? Like, I'll give you some of ours that we had. One was just the jump from animation to live action for Ahsoka. Luke Skywalker obviously showing up in Mandalorian. Grogu being introduced was significant. Let's see, what was the other one? The Vader Obi-Wan fight. Never thinking we'd ever see that kind of thing. I think tops, I will tell you, tops, mine was Luke Skywalker. And I think Grogu was Martin's.
I'm going to throw a new one in there. And I don't know why, but as soon as you said that, this is the scene that popped in my head. And I don't know why, but I kind of know why. It's the moment in Andor when Andy Serkis's character, after doing this great speech, and everyone is escaping, he gets to the edge and he goes, I can't swim. I don't know why.
That's your most significant moment, though?
As soon as you said, what's the most significant moment? That is what popped in my head. So I guess that's my answer. And I feel like it's because there's so much unpacked in that. And I feel like it's because you have one person who inspires everybody, and yet if they fall short or if they fall or if they fail for whatever reason, you have all of these people who are impacted by them who can then continue their message, continue the thought they started. And it also shows hope is that powerful.
Yeah.
Hope is that powerful where it makes you forget those pesky little things like, I can't swim, to the point that you're willing to be like, no, we have hope. We can do this. And then last minute you realize, I can't do this, but at least everybody else can. Because that's kind of how Andy Serkis played that moment. He's like, I can't swim.
Yeah.
But he's still amazed at what everybody else is doing. So it's sort of self-sacrificial in that way too. Like, it's a really deep moment if you sit down and think about it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So
it is.
You asked me what's the most significant. That was the first thing that popped in my head.
I think that's like you said, I think it's a important moment, but I'm not sure about
I don't know about significant
all of live action,
but I think it really symbolizes the power of hope.
Wow. Okay. Good.
I mean, I guess that's my answer because that's the first thing I thought of.
Wow.
I didn't this is how sad it is. I didn't even think, oh, Grogu's reveal. Oh, Luke Skywalker. My second thought was the fight between Obi-Wan and Darth Vader. That was my second thought. But all the other ones you thought of didn't even come to my mind.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, one that I just thought of that I wish I would have said on the show. It's like, I think bringing young Leia on and having a big significant role for young Leia, 10-year-old Leia, was pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Thrawn says, for me, it has to be Luke Skywalker appearing at the end of Mandalorian Season 2. That was iconic. Other moments would be Ahsoka and, of course, my boy Thrawn appearing in live action. I feel like there were so many to choose from. Yeah, I didn't say Thrawn just because, I don't know, I was kind of let down a little bit about Thrawn. I think that's a pretty significant moment in Star Wars because Thrawn was such an iconic character for 30 years, even though he's never been seen in live action. But I was a little let down by that one.
And I think we talked about that, how I feel like the fanfare of it wasn't enough. The tension building up to it. That's what it is. The tension building up to it. You and I thought, if I remember correctly, we thought it would have been more powerful.
Yes.
If they came in and there were bots lined up, people lined up, and they walked in and they can't see him and they're looking around, and all of a sudden you hear, "You were looking for me? Turn around, there he is." That would have been so much more powerful and so much more Thrawn than a big.
Yeah. Plus, you have this, you have this kind of a vision of what he looks like, and that didn't really translate well either. I think because
I thought it was okay actually. I wasn't.
Yeah, but he's described as being like so chiseled, and like his skin just is kind of like almost like stardust almost. It's like really kind of, I don't know.
You can't blame the guy. He's been bored. He's ordered a couple of pizzas and watched the Super Bowl a number of times. I mean, you can't blame him.
Yeah, no, I wish they would have had a little bit more detail like that, like they did with
Yeah.
like Cad Bane and these other
Yeah, I
ones.
mean the thing is like everybody's like, "Oh, he has a dead butt." I'm like,
No,
"So?"
I'm not even worried about
I'm
that. I'm
more
more
worried
worried about his
about the
face.
face.
Yeah, I'm worried
Yeah,
about like what that picture of him on that book, like the
he
Thrawn
is.
book, like that is Thrawn. Like that is the uniqueness of Thrawn.
You need to take the Maleficent cheekbones and
Yeah,
put them on
yeah,
Thrawn.
exactly. That's
That's
exactly
what
what.
you needed.
Yeah. And then he says about our review of Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good.
Oh,
Thrawn
okay.
says, love this trilogy, so in depth and like a whole new law in the Star Wars universe. Cannot wait for you both to review the third book. Yeah, we'll have to get there
I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on
because
the third one.
I'm behind on that one, so I got to get that. I'm trying to get through Reign of the Empire so we can talk about that one.
Yes.
Okay, so a little bit of quick news. One, speaking of Mandalorian and Grogu, it
Ah,
seems like it has been revealed that the production budget has been revealed for this film.
I'm really scared right now.
Well, so as you know, I believe if I can recall my memory, when the first season of Mandalorian came out, which is obviously the first live action show that Star Wars did, I believe I heard that it was somewhere north of like 80 to 90 million dollars for the whole season.
Wait,
Because
really?
oh yeah, it was like,
Only 80 to 90?
I mean that's a lot for a
I
television
mean, like
series.
that's a lot, but I would expect something upward of 110 million.
I don't know. I was surprised because they're talking about 10 to 11 million per episode. I mean that's a
Like
lot.
like that is a lot, but you think about the practicals, you think of the CGI, you think of all
Well,
of the
remember it
cast
wasn't
members.
practical. A lot of it wasn't practical. It was like a lot of volume,
Oh,
right?
there was a lot of volume, that's right.
Yeah, they did the whole season pretty much in volume.
Well, you and I both know how expensive that can be.
Well, that's the thing is like the volume doesn't necessarily save you money. It shifts the money from post production to pre production.
Yeah,
But it did save a lot of time, right? They were able to
true.
shoot a lot more by changing the screen instead of having to do a whole new setup. You know, like you just have to flip a couple switches and you're probably shooting less days, right?
Good
So
gravy. If we had that available to us last year with the 4 TV shows we did, woof, that would have been amazing.
absolutely, right? So to me that was now, and again, think about it, that was 5 years ago, right? So
Right.
or even 6 years ago, probably when they were shooting this thing. So it was, again, it was kind of unprecedented that you would spend that much on a series, especially a streaming series, right? So
Okay, sure. I just felt like the quality they gave us was more than
right,
80, 90.
which is again I think the success of the volume, what that proved
Yeah.
to do to budgets and to the value of production. So with this being a film, so it's not 8 episodes, 40-minute to 50-minute episodes. This is one probably 2-hour film. What do you think the budget landed at?
300 million.
Interesting.
What is it?
Just over half of that.
Oh, okay.
So the
Yeah, I'm not
166 million is where they're 166 million, which the article I was reading about this on, kind of like you, they were thinking this is way too low.
Yeah, that is
This
low.
is so it does seem low. Now, did they probably shoot on the volume? It sounds like they probably did.
Probably.
So that means it's not going to be like as practical. But yeah, my opinion, I bet you that this is a very, very, very isolated story.
Absolutely. As soon as you mention that budget and we think about the volume, it has to be.
I think it's not as going to be as grand as maybe some of us were hoping a Star Wars film would be. And honestly, that's the fear, right? That's like, is it just a stream, like an episode from a streaming series? Or is this truly a Star Wars film? Because there hasn't been a Star Wars film that's lower budget since the original trilogy, which in today's world, that wouldn't be this cheap.
Look, the public said, hey, you cannot make a Star Wars anything that connects to both modern generations and older generations. And Jon Favreau said, hold my beer. And he created Mandalorian season 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
I don't doubt him. Yes, it's scary to think that. But then I jump to, well, what the heck is the story going to be?
I know.
What is so contained?
Right.
Like, is it Grogu discovering force power? Like, what is going on?
I don't know. I think I don't know. I think we'll get probably a trailer or something, coming out of Celebration. I do think it's going to be something that draws them out of their kind of retirement home that they, we saw them in at the end of season 3 on Navarro. And it has to be significant enough to get them back into the action. But I'm afraid, maybe not afraid, but I'm leaning towards it really not being a part of the whole greater scheme of Thrawn and Ahsoka and all that stuff. Like I don't think that's where, I don't know how you do that with that budget. Like, I don't think Thrawn is in this. I think this is kind of an isolated story that may have some like connected tissue with it, but not directly associated.
I have no idea.
But that's all. That's just my theory on the budget. It doesn't sound like we're getting a lot of visual effects. It's like not a lot of, maybe not a big battles. It's like not an epic Star Wars film that we're used to.
Very concerned now. But
hey, if it's the quality's there, I mean, it's like if it's well written and it's well acted, and I don't know.
Maybe it's just Pedro Pascal taking off his helmet, and that's literally the movie.
Well,
so
he is listed as front billing, so I'm sure they will show his face. Maybe.
I hope so.
That would be weird too if he's not even. They don't even show his face. I mean, that means he just recorded back in L.A. So. Okay, so there's that. There will be a panel for the Mandalorian and Grogu at Star Wars Celebration, so probably a lot of stuff coming out then. Of course, we know Andor is going to be 3 episodes at a time. It has been confirmed now that all 3 episodes will drop at 9:00 Tuesday nights Eastern time. So you get 3 episodes, 6:00 Pacific. So. So that means if you start at 9, you'll probably get through all of them before midnight, maybe. So
that's great news for me. Somebody who's like, it's 10:00. I need to go to bed.
I'll have my popcorn ready and I'll watch all 3 of them. So that is the news on Andor right now. Like I said, they're doing kind of a rewatch on StarWars.com if you want to go and check that out. Okay. In the gaming world, Knights of the Old Republic. Apparently, I figured you'd like this. That game, the remake, apparently it is still on and getting worked on.
Oh, thank goodness.
So it's not one of those ones that's kind of shifted onto the wayside right now. It is still being worked on.
Do we know if it's a remaster or a remake?
Well, that's the thing is I think, it was advertised as a remake, meaning that It was called Knights of the logo we saw when it released. It was Knights of the Old Republic remake. I think they were modernizing the graphics, from the old one to now. I believe, now this is completely me, but I believe they are tweaking it a little bit and making it more of a, more of a linear story, canon storyline.
Yeah, I was about to say,
That's
as
gonna
soon as you
fit.
say remake, that means they're retconning. Versus a remaster, which is, oh, this is literally the same game. We're just upping the graphics. We're making it better for you all.
Right.
So, yeah, as soon as you say remake, I'm like, oh my gosh. I swear, if they take away the twist in the middle of that game,
I just don't know. I just don't know if they'll. Yeah, when you say retcon, I'm not sure they'll retcon anything because I think in the game, don't you have you have a choice, right? You have choices.
you technically do. But that's what makes the game so beautiful because the thing is, you can go down one path and then the twist hits. And I'm not going to spoil it in case nobody has played the game. That's something you should experience that as a player, like I did, and it blew my mind. Um, and then after that choice or after that twist, you can then change your choice and you can choose something different.
Right.
And that's what was so beautiful about the game. And then in Knights of the Old Republic 2, you play as a neutral character who's not connected really to one, but you can then claim what is the canon history
Mm-hmm.
of what happened. Because I forget, I'm blanking out on her name right now, but the person who's training you is like, oh, do you remember what happened during this battle? And then you can pick what happened
Yeah.
and all of that. So while I appreciate they're like, we'll keep it one linear storyline like they have done with Jedi Survivor, Jedi Fallen Order, there was something beautiful about the person having a choice, but you saying, hey, because there are a lot of games out there that's like, oh, you got the bad ending, oh, you got the mystery ending, and then oh, you got the true ending.
Mm-hmm.
So you can leave it like that, where it's like, hey, guess what? You played the game, you got the true ending. This is what really happened. Versus, you got the bad ending, you got the mystery ending, you got something else ending, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
So they could do that instead.
They could.
Because then, if you're like, wait, I got the bad ending, what's the true ending? And then they play the whole thing again.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that. I think that. I think they're gonna probably pick one of those as canon, is what I think.
No.
But I could be wrong. Could be wrong. I just think that that's such a significant character and
It
one that a
is.
lot of fans have been wanting. So I think they're gonna pick a path, and fit it into the canon storyline somehow. So
Okay. Okay. Well, you know what? If it's
so
a good
that
game, I'll play it.
yeah, so that's coming. I don't know when. Maybe in Celebration again, we'll get some news. But Lucasfilm Games also released that at Star Wars Celebration on April 19th, they put out an article that said join them for the first look at an all new Star Wars turn-based tactics game.
So, like an RPG?
It seems like it. And that is all that they say. They don't say anything else.
Oh, that's interesting.
So there will be another game announced at Star Wars Celebration. Unfortunately, I wish we would get some of these other games before they start announcing new ones, but
Seriously.
because we're still waiting on Star Wars Eclipse that they announced like 2 years ago,
Yeah.
and then Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake, and then now apparently this new turn-based game that's
The
coming.
thing is, I'm okay with video games taking a while because they do take time. I don't understand, nor do I have experience in creating video games, but there's a lot that goes into it. And I'd rather them take their time than, unfortunately, there have been a lot of horror stories about companies realizing, oh, wait, we're behind. We're just going to work our employees to death so
Yeah.
that they can get this done. And then there's a bunch of bugs in it, so they have to cover it. So I'd rather hear, hey, it's taking this long, and hopefully knowing that that means employees are being treated well in the process of making it.
Yeah. Well said. Well said. I forgot. I forgot on our Beyond the Saga. We had Darth S&M as well make a comment.
Oh.
He just simply said, "Great trilogy. Must be a new movie saga. Same with Darth Bane trilogy."
Ooh.
Yeah.
Huh.
So this is interesting because this kind of piggybacks into what I was going to bring up to us talking about a little bit.
I was about to say perfect segue.
Yeah, that's right, right? So as I've been diving into this new book, Reign of the Empire, Mask of Fear, which is really good, and something I didn't really ever think I really needed, which is this whole political aspect of Star Wars, which in the end, Star Wars is very political. There's always been politics involved in Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to thinking, with all the material that, and you can kind of see on my bookshelf, like all the books and all the comics that, I mean, there's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of Star Wars canon material that we've gotten out. Now, what's crazy to think about is it's been, I think, 13, 14, almost 14 years since Disney purchased Lucasfilm.
Whoa.
Yeah, I believe it'll be 14 years. I'm sorry. It'll be 13 years come October. So
Okay.
12 years, right? 12 and a half years. So that's a lot of, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's come out in the publishing world. Not just adult novels. I mean, they have a ton of young adult novels. They have a ton of junior novels. They have a ton of just elementary books and things like that. So all these stories, and we're covering a lot of them with Beyond the Saga, and we're talking about them on the show. I kind of just got to thinking because I was watching, I can't remember. Oh, I know what I was. I'm watching Reacher right now on Prime.
Oh.
Which is a great show. It's a great show.
I'll add it to my ever-growing list.
Yes, Reacher is such a great show. But Reacher, I remember watching an episode and it popped on, like the credit, it's from a certain book that they're adapting this season from, is one of the books. So it just got me thinking, like, I wonder, has Lucasfilm ever considered adapting one of their published stories? Or should they consider adapting? And I was thinking, like, and I asked you before we recorded, like, did we ever talk about this? Because I feel like maybe we did, but I don't think we have.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, so, yeah, well, I don't know. What do you think? It should, because I've always heard, because I'm not a big reader. I'm a big audio listener now. But I remember growing up through high school and stuff, I never read a bunch of novels, but I would hear, like, oh, this movie's coming out based on this book. The book was so much better. The book is always so much better than the movie, Heard that a lot. I'm sure you had too. But I wouldn't know because, again, I was watching movies. I wasn't really reading books. Now that I've heard a lot of these books, though, like these Star Wars books, I'm curious if I would think that, like if I saw a translation to a film, like if they, what I will say in the beginning of this, I think it'd be hard to do a live action version of some of these stories, but an animated version or like a CG version would be what I think I would lean towards. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. So it's like I'm curious how good an adaptation would be for like a book like just throwing it out there, like, you know, like Brotherhood or like Rise of the Red Blade. You know, it's like if they translated those, would it be as good as the book? So I guess overall, first off, is what's your thoughts on them even thinking about doing this? Should they?
Oh man, I don't know because I am the person who's like I have to read the book before I watch it. That's just who I am. Like for example, um I was at Silo. I haven't finished the first episode, but so far it's an amazing TV show. And it grabbed me, and then it did the whole opening credits, and all of a sudden it went based on this series, and I'm like, so I felt guilty watching it because I was like, I didn't even know it was a book series. I
Right.
should have read this first. And I think the reason why is because, like, for Game of Thrones, like, okay, I'll do some reverse psychology. For Game of Thrones, or backwards psychology, it's not reverse. For Game of Thrones, I watched it and I'm like, oh, this X, Y, and Z. But then my husband, who read the books, went, no, if you actually consider it, this is how it's written. And it's like, oh, so you understand so much more. Another reason is with like Rise of Skywalker. The movie, it felt like they were filling up a lot of holes. But then when you read the book, you realize, oh, this is the thought process of the actors. This is what they were thinking. That's how it connects to X, Y, and Z. Books allow you to enter the actor's mind. They allow you to enter
Right.
the character's mind, and
Yeah.
you're able to understand something that even the best actor in the world may not be able to convey on screen. So, like, if you were to bring somebody to come see a movie saying, I read the book, it's really, really good, they might not fully understand what's happening because you're not getting the context in which everything is happening. And I think while I think that it would be incredibly cool to see some of these books, like the whole Thrawn Ascendancy trilogy, that would be amazing live action to introduce people to this whole different set of rules, this whole different system in the
Mm-hmm.
galaxy that's existing during the Skywalker saga. But at the same time, they're not fully experiencing what you get in the book. So I don't know if it would be beneficial because then you have people going, well, the book is better. Because I think there's only been one time where I'm like, yeah, you know what? That movie was as good as the book. And that was with The Giver. They took out some things, but a lot of it was so true to the book that I was like, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
that was as good as the book. So I think that is the concern. If you're already having all these criticizers out there, as soon as you're like, hey, we're going to turn this book into a movie, you start introducing more of that negativity. So I'm leaning more towards no, don't do that.
Mm. Mm.
But I have a feeling you lean the other way.
Yeah, no. To be honest, I don't know. I think I'm right on the fence right now. I think there's a lot of really good stories in publishing, and I think there's also some very kind of just mediocre, stories. I think there's like in the comic world, I think that there's definitely some of these one-offs or these kind of mini series that would maybe be worth like an animated version of the whole like War of the Bounty Hunters would be really cool.
Yeah, that would be.
Stuff like that. I think as far as like a novel, like if I just think of, obviously Dark Disciple would have been a Clone Wars series. which like if I would want that, I definitely would want to see that, still in the Clone Wars animation. But like looking besides that one, Rise of the Red Blade, the Shadow of the Sith, you get into these really, to me, it's like really significant stories. But I think you have to, like Rise of the Red Blade, I think is one that is possible. You could do that live action because we haven't really seen these characters, most of these characters, right?
I mean, outside of comic book form, yes.
Yes, I'm saying like, yeah, live action. There's like, it's not like there's not, Yoda's not in it or
Oh yeah,
Obi-Wan
yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff like it.
And Vader's in it, but you can kind of have anybody be Vader at this
Well,
point.
yeah, you just bring Hayden back, right? But Shadow of the Sith would be hard, right? Because that's Luke and Lando and things like that. So you would almost have to do that animation. I think I'm probably with you though. I think it's probably not a great idea. Even though there are again some really good stories that I wouldn't mind seeing. But I think I want new stories, in films.
Absolutely. And I think another argument is that somebody like my husband is like, I don't want to read a book to fill in the holes. And that's what it's kind of become to him in his mind, is that if I read a book, I'm filling in the holes in the history that should have been in the movie. I shouldn't have to do extra homework to
Right.
understand what a movie is saying. So I think that's the other concern you run into, is you're sending people off to be like, well, if you want to understand this, you got to do X, Y, and Z. So
It's
that's,
true.
and then so then when you turn that into movie form, it then looks like you're trying to fill in a bunch of loopholes or gaps that people just kind of accepted there. Like, I know you love the Beauty and the Beast live action, but this is the best example I can give. The Beauty and the Beast live action filled in a lot of holes and questions that the animated movie created, and it was unnecessary. People just kind of accepted things the way they were, and it was unnecessary for them to try to,
Mm-hmm.
cover themselves for that. Sorry, I didn't mean to bring up something. I did not mean to bring up a sore subject there, but that's the best
No, that's
example
not
I could
sore.
think of.
I like it. You're the one that doesn't like it. No, but that's right. I think it does. You're definitely just restricted doing an adaptation. Because you can only fit so much into a movie, or else you'd be doing like 6-hour movies based if you're trying to fit everything from the book in there, right? So
Or do what HBO is doing with Harry Potter, which is you have each season
do
be
a
a book,
series,
which
right?
I think is brilliant.
It is brilliant. But back when they were doing these things, that was unheard of, right? I mean,
Right. Exactly.
and like Lord of the Rings was a good example of that too, right?
Yeah.
You
I
know,
mean, yeah, they took out things, but Lord of the Rings is still like, if I wanted someone to read Lord of the Rings and they're like, I don't know, those books are very thick, I would be like, here, sit down with me for 9 to 10 hours. We're going to watch the extended versions
oh
of
yeah,
Lord of the
yeah.
Rings, and then you tell me if you don't want to read the books or not.
But even the extended versions, I'm sure, probably left out some things,
Oh, they
right?
totally did.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
there were some things where like they kind of did a tip of the hat to the Cimmerillion and all of those things. And so if you didn't read those, you didn't fully understand those, but you better believe people who've watched those were like, yeah, I'm going to go read the books. And
Yeah.
then they said the books are technically better, but these movies are pretty darn close.
Did you read Game of Thrones?
I started reading Game of Thrones. I just haven't gotten Star Wars has
Okay.
kind of taken up my time, but
Yeah.
I did read book 1, book 2, part of 3.
So I'd be curious to hear how much, because that is a series. I'm curious how much they left out of the
Oh, they
books.
left out stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the thing is with the books, each chapter is from a different person's point of view.
Oh.
which is very unique and very interesting. Like oh my gosh, there's a scene in the books that they left out in the show, and when I heard the scene in the books, I'm like, why did they leave this out in the show? It's from Catelyn's point of spoilers. Sorry, but Game of Thrones has been out for a while, so kind of shame on you at this point.
That's fine.
It's from if I remember correctly, and I could be wrong, I think it's from Catelyn's point of view. And Jaime's coming after, and they're going to basically kidnap Jaime. And they're going through, and all of a sudden you like hear a wolf howl. And then you hear Rob, and then they attack. And I'm like, why wasn't that in the show? Why was it all of a sudden, oh, we kidnapped Jaime?
Yeah.
Like
Interesting.
the description of it, and I swear that scene existed. If not, I apologize. That's a fever dream I had at some point in my life, and it just kind of morphed itself into reality. So there you go.
Nice. Well, I think that solves it. I think, I'm with you. I think it's okay to keep them in the publishing world, and it's just some of these stories that are really good, a lot of people probably won't know about them, right? Because not everybody are readers,
Right. And at the same time, if someone sees it on the screen, they're like, oh, I didn't like it, but you didn't read the book. Why would I want to read the book after I didn't like the movie or the TV show?
Right. Yeah, true. I still think, and I know I've said this numerous times on this show, I still think if you were going to do one of them, then the CG route, like the realistic CG is what you should be doing. Like you said, like one of the most famous things out there is that Knights of the Old Republic 2 trailer with the girl you're talking about, like her and her master fighting those Sith, which I think is Darth Malak. And that was done like 15 years ago. That looked incredible. And I remember they did the trailers for Force Unleashed, with Starkiller. Those realistic CG, but I know how expensive those are. That's why they only do trailers of those.
Right, but
if they could do that in real, like a full length movie, that would be.
Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3. Need I say more? The CGI in those were so good.
Yeah.
Which is why, like with Doctor Strange, I still struggle to watch Doctor Strange 2. Because I'm thinking Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3, like that was insanely good.
Mm-hmm.
The CGI.
Yeah. Well, you get what you pay for, I guess, right?
I guess.
Okay, thanks everybody. That's our show for this week. Curious to hear our listeners about what if they want some stories adapted.
Yeah, let us know if you were to pick one, which one would it be?
Yeah, that'd be good to know of all, because I know Thrawn, he's been reading a ton of these things. So all right, thanks everybody. We will be back next week, and then I'm actually on vacation the following week, so you won't get a show from us then, because I'll be gone the actual all week. I'm Disneying it up for the whole week. My wife's birthday that week and all that stuff. So
most magical place on earth.
Can't wait for it. And you said it right. That's good. I know you do. I said it right. All right. Thanks, Hannah, as always.
Thank you, Dave, as always.
Thanks again to our patrons for all the support. If you're looking to join our Patreon, go to patreon.com/Inside the Force. Hit up YouTube on Inside the Force's channel there for all these additional shows that we're talking about. And we will see you guys next week. Take care. May the Force be with you.